Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dee Reinhardt, and we are on our CBO Technical Assistance call. So today we've got a whole plethora of things to talk about. A couple of them are going to be pretty quick, and then some of them might be a little bit longer. But we want to try and get done in a half an hour, but I don't think it's going to happen. So first of all, what I want to do is I want to talk about training programs. And I'm going to pull my screen over here real quick and show you what I'm talking about. And in the training descriptions, what I would like for everybody to do is, so I happen to be on Homework Hangout right now, and on the training programs tab underneath the agency. So you go to resources, agencies, click on your agency name, and then you get to these tabs. So we've got agency details and training programs. This is where I need you to be, is under training programs. And under the actual training program itself, what I need for you to do in the description is try to put a description in there that a potential customer to your program is going to understand, so that they'll know what they're getting for their time investment. And if there's some requirements that you need them to be able to do or say or whatever it is, I would appreciate it if all of those things could be in there, so that when DHS office is trying to have their customer pick a program, they can get that information from the description that you have put in there. The next thing that we need to talk about is the conciliation process. So on the restricted resources page, we have added the directions right here. It says DHS conciliation for CBOs. We have a PDF document there that is this document right here. I'm going to try to make this just a little bit bigger. Now, a good portion of this is language that we pulled directly from the DHS pages, the IDHS website. And so the first probably 2 pages are straight from the DHS website. And then the steps that you need to follow are here on the 3rd page. And this has been approved by Alan Summers of IDHS, who is the man in charge at the moment right now. And he has given us what you need to say in the document, what form to use, and the process to do it. So please, it is in the download pod, in the file pod for the downloads, or you can find it on the restricted resources page. You can also find each of the forms that you need to complete on the list of the CBO resources right here on the right-hand side. So those are the 2 things that we need to talk to you about from the resources page and the training programs. The other thing that I need for you to do is DHS has a list, just like we have a list of DHS key contacts for you, we have a list of CBO contacts for the DHS staff. I have that current list in the CBO file pod down below the chat pod. I need for each of you to download that, take a look at your contact information, and then if there are people that we need instead of the executive director, I need those people so that we can add them to the list with their direct extension and a correct email address for that person. So that's what I need for you to do. And then if there are any corrections to your list, I need you to email those corrections to epic@illinoisworknet.com. And then either Olivia, Lydia, or I will update the list and keep a current list on the restricted resources page. Can everybody do that for me? Can I see a raise of hands if you're going to take care of that for me? Good. I like cooperation. All right. So for right now, I'm going to turn this over to Olivia. So Olivia, if you want to grab your screen and pull it over, I'm going to minimize mine. And if you haven't had a chance to check in right now until Olivia pulls over her screen, check in for me real quick. So Olivia is going to talk to you about the Enrolled Dashboard. And we need to leave the chat pod open, so I'm going to minimize you just a little bit here, Olivia.
Hi, everybody. How are you? I hope you all are doing well today. So we're going to go over the Enrolled Customer Dashboard. This is the dashboard that you would all be using to kind of follow where all your customers are at. I've been going through the dashboard. I've probably talked to a few of you by now about different areas that we're trying to kind of follow up and get cleaned up with. The key areas that we look at are the appointments that have not been scheduled. You can click on this link and then you'll get a list of all the customers who have been enrolled into your guys' agency but still do not have an appointment scheduled to meet with you guys. If you have a lot of customers in here, you can try to get in contact with us to figure out, maybe why they haven't been scheduled with you, if they've been sitting in here for a long period of time. And then we also have the referral pending 2151 past due. This is one that has been building up not a lot of numbers, but they've been adding up slowly. And these are for anybody who has had the initial appointment with their customers and still has not uploaded the initial 2151 form, just saying that you have met with the customers and you either initialized services or taken another route. The 2151 form, you just upload it and then you'll save it before you insert any other information. And once it's been saved, you'll open it up again in Adobe. And then we'll go in and you'll just check whichever one of these the customer is going to fall under. If the customer did not attend their initial appointment, you're going to want to check no contact for the client. If they were a no-show and they didn't call in advance or anything like that, if they called and they were not able to make it due to a legitimate reason, then you can go ahead and reschedule that appointment with the customer and upload the 2151 form then. But for a customer that comes in and does their appointment and the services are initialized, so you would check this box. We also want to make sure that on the progress page, as soon as we initialize services with those customers, that we're coming down here, and you can't see it now, but once you upload that 2151 form, you'll see the training program placement, and it will ask if they're enrolled, in which training program they're enrolled in. And as soon as we initialize those services, we need to enroll them in that training program so we can save their spot in that training program. Because we don't want to save a spot for too many people and not have enough spots available when it comes time to enroll them. So as long as we're automatically enrolling them, we're saving their seat for that training program whenever it begins, even if it's a month out or something like that. And then you can start engaging them in the other services that are located on the 2151A form. Go back to the dashboard here. Do you guys have any questions about that 2151 form and initializing the services and getting them enrolled?
I don't see any questions being typed.
Okay. So the next area of the dashboard that we're going to look at is the referral accepted enrollment status, enrollment started, enrollment required. These are the customers who have had their 2151 form uploaded, but down in the training program placement, This looks a little bit different than your guys'. This is what it's going to eventually look like here before too long. Right now, all you see is the enrolled status and the program assignment. Eventually, you will see all this, but for right now, we just need to mark them as enrolled and in the program assignment, whichever program they're in. So if you see any numbers on your guys' dashboard in the enrollment required section, we really need to get those people in and get them enrolled so they're not just sitting out there and their training program isn't getting filled up and they don't lose their spot. And then if you go further down, you'll see that the yellow row of the CBO needs to upload the past due form. And these customers are the ones that have a past due. Let me go. So their 5120 or their 2151A form is past due. So between the 1st and the 5th of every month, the customer's 2151A form has to be uploaded, and any customers in that orange box have missed the due date for that 2151A form being uploaded. And again, it's just the form that kind of goes through the additional services that the customers are being offered, like job readiness and and community services and stuff like that. So we need to make sure that we're uploading those every month. And you might get an email from me if we have customers that are sitting in there for a long time. I might send you an email just to figure out what's going on with them. It could have something to do with them not showing up and them going through conciliation. But I'm just checking up just to make sure that they're where they're supposed to be. And then the last part of the dashboard that I will be following up with you is if we have any customers in situation worse or no progress, I'll just be following up with you to check on how that is going and seeing if maybe they need to go into conciliation or anything like that. Do you guys have any questions on either of those two parts of the dashboard we just went over?
I don't see anybody typing.
Okay. Well, that is all that I had to go over with the dashboard with you guys. So, G, is it back to you?
Great. I'm going to minimize your screen, but we'll leave you up just in case we need to come back to you. Whoops. I grabbed the wrong box. All right. So now, next on our agenda is that we want to talk about enrollment and the ISTEP plan. So on our dashboard, we have a new area. Well, maybe it's not so new, but we have an ISTEP dashboard that we will be seeing. And on here, what Olivia and I are going to be looking at as well are the items here where it says maybe no steps identified in each of these sections. One of the things that you can do, let me make this a little bit bigger. One of the things that you can do, in a lot of cases, you may not have somebody that needs any personal development. Maybe they don't have a barrier. Or if they do, there might be some steps that you need to identify with them. Also, under the career planning, part of this whole process is getting them into the right way to do career planning. So in here, there should not ever be anybody with no steps identified unless you just brought them into the program today or yesterday. In most cases, the same thing should be happening here under the academic and technical training. So what we want you to do, and I am in the process of doing some video tutorials for the ISTEP the ISTEP portion so that you can see exactly how it is that you need to do this. But looking at the academic and technical training, No steps identified. I know that Natasha covered this last week with all of these people. So what we want to do is we want to go to the plan. And in many cases, you have a process that you do with your CBO. What you can do is you can go into the career planning, select the steps that everybody's going to have to do. So for example, it might be that everybody is going to have to prepare their resume. That gets added right away. Whatever other steps are in here, we add those right away because you can add the step and then you can go in and edit it and put a delayed start date. Maybe they're really not going to come to your program and start until August 15th. You can go in here and you can say start date August 15th. You know it's going to take them a week. You put a due date of August 22nd. Then all you have to do is go back and say open on the step itself. And you can do that for the personal development, you can do it for career planning, and you can do it for the academic and technical skills. So that way you can have these people's plans set up as soon as you click enroll. Yes, if you have corrections to your list, you can send it to epic@illinoisworknet.com. Okay, so that's what we want you to do within 48 hours of your enrollment of your people so that we've got at least one step in each section. Then if you need some specific steps added that are different than what we have discussed and different than the EPIC ones that we want you to use, you can send that information as well to epic@illinoisworknet.com so that we can add those steps to the system for you. Okay, last but not least, we're going to touch on this very briefly right now. The steps for reporting for anybody employed. Raise your hand and let me know, do you have anybody that's employed right now in your group of people? Okay, so you've got some people that are employed. What you need to do is continue to submit a 2151A with their wage information, if you can find it, for the 90-day time period. So, and we will come up with a process next week and review that whole process. But just in the event that you do have somebody employed, you will still need to submit a 2151A. Okay with that one? All right. We need to have the person enrolled within 48 hours of their initial appointment. Then if you can set up at least a couple of steps within each of those areas, Louisa, then we can not find you in that list of people with no steps. Does that make sense, Louisa? And the answer to Judith is every 30 days. So the same process that you would have been doing during training, it's between the 1st and the 5th of the month, you're going to submit that 2151A indicating that the person is employed, and if you know where and what wages, then you can submit that. And I see a couple people typing, so I'm going to hang on just a second. Clear some results here. All right, and does the participant need to sign the 2151? The only time the participant needs to sign the 2151 is if they are releasing some sort of medical, the special records to you. But you still need to upload a 2151A that has been manipulated with the Adobe Reader, because that's the only thing that will read through in the system. Yes, Chris. The confusion, Luis is saying the confusion is the initial contact. Is this 48 hours after they're referred, or 48 hours after you have your initial intake appointment with your client? So the referral may happen a week or 2 weeks even before they actually come meet with you. Chris, during the process, Alan explained to us that we need it done every 30 days until they're done with their 90 days. That's why we're going to talk about the process next week. Maybe Carmen, maybe after the call, Olivia, would you mind calling Carmen and seeing if she's having a problem?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. Okay. And the process may be different for your enrollment, but once you actually enroll the person, that's when the 48 hours starts. Okay. Next on our list is the Nocti. Now, the people that did application process 2 for the Nocti did not, I'm sorry, the people that did application 2 did not complete a Nocti. So we know that at the end of the process, we would like to see all of the participants take the Nocti so that we know if the training that they received during the course of their participation in the EPIC program, then we will know whether we've been successful or not in teaching them maybe some workplace skills and improving their math and reading scores. So what our question is if they did application 1, let's do by show of hands, do you want to give them the Nocti at the end of the process? Now, in some cases, we're talking 16 weeks for training plus whatever they did for adult education or any of those sorts of things. And Tammy, Tammy or Natasha, would you like to chime in about our discussion with this?
Yeah, this is Natasha. I can. Well, originally they were taking the Nocti to try to help identify individuals that said that they had a certain level of education, and we just wanted to, make sure that, try to use it as a tool to gauge whether they need some remediation or not. What we found is some people were just kind of flying through the Nocti and not really taking it seriously. But we do recommend, or we would like to see people offering the Nocti towards the end of their enrollment, in their training, or after they've had some work experience, because it is a tool that is free to all my WorkNet partners, so you can offer it. And some of the things that came out of when we first started doing the Nocti with some of these individuals is that, for one, if they scored, if they scored well, they successfully completed it, then they were able to have, the Nocti 21st Century Skills certificate that they could, put on the resume, have it in the portfolio, just have another little confidence booster that, they do have the knowledge of the workplace skills. And then the other part of that is that they are able to see a breakdown of where they have, they do well, the different areas of where maybe they might be better than others. And so, the CHS caseworkers and, their customers, they were, thought that was a nice benefit to have, just that visual of, yeah, these are some of the areas where I really excel. These are some of the areas that I might need some more, assistance. I might need to work on this. And they thought that was, valuable for the customer to have as well. So we would like you to do it at the end, but, there's no hard requirement that you have to do it, but we would like you to do it.
Definitely, probably for the, all right, definitely, probably. How you like that statement? For the application 2 people. The biggest question is the comparison for the application 1 people.
And you had a question, how would the Nocti determine the skills learned? The Nocti is just an overall assessment of the workplace skills, and there is some reading and math. So it's not necessarily to say that, all your training revolved around what was in the Nocti, not saying that at all, but saying that, at the end of this training, you have learned about workplace skills, you have had workplace experience, and, this is a tool, that, this is an assessment that we can provide you to have, basically like evidence, more evidence that you have these skills. So is it going to mean that, it's the one thing that gets you a job, you have to have this credential in order to get a job? Absolutely not. But is it a tool or, a piece of evidence that you could have, in your portfolio or in your back pocket to say, this person says they know about workplace skills and I can show you that I do. Or in some cases it can be used as like a confidence booster, but we also have other assessments in LMI WorkNet as well that can be used. And we can cover those later on, but we do have the observational assessment that can be used by the training providers, and I'm not sure how many of you have used that in the past, but the training providers can complete the observational assessment for the person, and then it's much like an evaluation that an employer would give them, except it's based on, how they participate and how they conduct themselves in the classroom. And then we also have the worksite evaluation. So we have several assessments that, one is the multiple choice question where it just basically tests their knowledge of workplace skills, whereas the the worksite evaluation and the observational assessment, those are 2 assessments that actually provide an evaluation on their behavior and over time.
And at the CBO level, these are very good tools that you guys can use. Like I said, if you're having specific, problems with placing somebody in a job, and you can potentially use the Nocti and say, okay, it looks like this is a specific area where we may need to do some more assistance with them because they're lacking in some, interpersonal approaches, or they're lacking in some specific workplace skills. So they're tools. They're tools in your toolbox that you guys can use to help facilitate these individuals to get where they need to be.
And what we'll do is we'll provide a link to be able to access the Nocti tests for the CBOs and directions so that you can get user passwords for your participants. We do have on the partner resources page under the full list of resources, we do have how to do the Nocti for participants and then for staff. So you can check there and see what's going on with the Nocti. And then if you need assistance, Natasha or Olivia and I are very happy to help you get your first set under your belt. All right.
And the one thing I really want to emphasize is working with, the dashboard and with the ISTEP, please be very prudent and get your information in this, because when we have questions from our management as far as, what's the results, how are we doing on this program, and, our national evaluation group has access to this, so they're looking at it. This is a very, important tool that you guys need to make sure that, you're inputting the data in a timely fashion so that we can accurately reflect what's going on in the field. So this is, we want to make sure that you're, you're using this and you're entering your steps, especially in the ISTEP for your academic and your personal development and your career development. Okay, Dee, can you see my screen?
I can, and I pulled it up and made it big for you.
Yay! I was successful this week.
Yay!
Yay! What I want to do with you guys is there is a report due, and it was due the 30th, but that's Saturday, so you can get this into me Monday. No later than Monday, though, because we only have 5 business days to load these in our system, and then if we don't have them in our system, then you guys get a little nastygram that's electronically sent out that says your report is late. But this is basically what in this report, like I said, there is some adjustments that have to be made to this report. So especially this entry page, use it for this one, but we are going to have to make adjustments to this, and we're also going to have to make adjustments to the report itself once the GATA reporting requirements are released. So we have to transition to what's going to be required statewide with the GATA reporting requirements. But for this one that's due, this is what it's going to look like. You have the data entry screen. Anything in yellow is what you enter. Now, you guys probably have seen this before because we needed to have a report that was submitted, for the first, it was actually April, May, or February, March, and April. And many of you guys, had no reports, no activity, obviously, during that time. So for this particular report, we're looking at a May, and this drop-down box is for this, a May through June, end of June, report period. So you just need to enter your grantee name, grant number, your grant amount. The grant amount needs to be not the amount that's currently given out to you guys at this point, but it needs to be your total grant amount. So we did a 50% grant with you guys right now because, like I said, once again, the money's going to follow the clients. But your average cost is based upon the total grant amount and then your enrollment numbers. So this grant amount needs to reflect the total amount, that you had requested and we negotiated in your scope of work. And that will be in your scope of work document. And I think it's on the performance page. If you look in your scope of work document, that reflects your total grant amount. And then, of course, you need to enter your written enrollments, your current completed training, and that's as defined by your organization. So when do they complete the training program for EPIC? Their employment, if they're employed, and their retention, so your retention numbers. So those numbers are also in your grant agreement. And then, like I said, it's on that performance page. You can get all of this information off of that. And then in there, any service numbers that you would have had in the prior quarter and in the current quarter. So those blocks in yellow. And like I said, this document is going to change. We're still working with the calculations in this and how we're doing this. But that's what you need to do on this one. And then what it does is it transfers that information to the grantee report document. And if you guys have had grants with our department before, this is our department universal report form. So it transfers this information over here. You don't have to do anything in this report except for fill out the yellow parts. I do want you to include your budget amount, and that is in your grant agreement also, and that's what's on the GRS screen for your admin, training, participant wages, support services, and career navigation. Your prior expenditure reports. So, most of you probably have expenditures potentially in admin, some in the career navigation. The first period, you probably don't really have, really anything in training, participant wages, or support services. You might have a little in support services possibly. If you had some clients that were, coming in at that time. And then any current reporting period. So this would be May and June, what your expenditures are. And it does calculations, of course. And if you needed to enter any documentation on the side, please do that. And you're not going to have any interest because you guys don't have any money, or you hadn't had any money. Would have cash requests that are done now. So there wouldn't be any probably program interest or income, but as we get down the road, if there is some that is realized, you need to report those in this document. And then it transfers your performance over in this document. So anything in yellow, once again, is where you can put information. I do need, if you want to include success stories, you can definitely put them in here. The success story should really probably be reflected, though, in WorkNet as we're progressing in this. And then if you have any concerns or feedback, you can, of course, add this in here. Now, the grantee signator has to be an authorized signator, and this is in your grant document also. So in many cases, it's your executive director and whoever is designated by that individual to also be able to sign documents. So that is something that's in your grant agreement also. And whoever is signing that, then of course we need you to type their name and title and put the date in this was completed. So please just make sure that whoever's signing this is an authorized signator. And if you're finding out that you didn't, your organization did not assign somebody that needs to be an authorized signator, let me know. And I can send you a document that we can add somebody as an authorized signator. Your CEO may have not realized that he has to sign all of this stuff and wants to, approve somebody else for these types of things. So just let me know and we can make that happen. So like I said, once again, this is due. I do need for you guys to also include a trial balance from your accounting system that accompanies this form. And what the trial balance needs to do is it needs to tie what you're putting in these cost categories for training and admin and participant wages. These need to be identified on your trial balance, so you need to provide some sort of a crosswalk, and you can even handwrite it on your trial balance. So if you have, wages in there, you can identify wages as these are administration wages or these are career navigation wages. Your supportive services, those are usually pretty easy, to identify if it's bus passes or that. And participant wages, that's once again, a lot of times you guys will just have a line item in there for your participant your SNAP participant wages. And the participant wages is those individuals that are SNAP recipients that are in the work experience component. And the only thing that will have in it in your participant wages is the wages of the SNAP recipients along with FICA and workman's comp, and then the employer share of the FICA. So that's the only cost that will be in that line item. And then, of course, your training, whatever your training costs are, if you're, have a contract with a community college, the cost directly related to training of these participants. So your trial balance needs to be able to tie back to how you're putting these costs in here so we can look at it and say, okay, this makes sense. I understand based upon their trial balance, this is where they're charging it at in the GRS system and on this report here. So please make sure you do that. Make sure you have a crosswalk so we can understand what's going on with that.
Amy, we have a couple of questions.
Sure, you bet.
Emily is asking, do you happen to have any updates on when the GRS system will be back up?
That is a good question. I know we're in the rollover right now process, so I would anticipate probably by the second week of August, I would guess, and I'm like I said, once again, I'm guessing on this. I know that there were some concerns that it might be a little slower than in past years because the comptroller's office, with a budget now, they're incredibly busy and paying, invoices and everything too. So that would be my best guess. And I'll see if I can find out, and I'll provide that information next week on the webinar.
All right. And then we have one more question. If we submitted this report in May, would we do it for just June, or is it still for May and June?
Do it for May and June. The report that was, and I may be wrong on this, but I think we wanted February, March, and April for that first report. And then this one is going to be May and June. And then after that, we're going to be on a calendar quarter. So the next one will be, the next report will be due for July, August, and September, and it'll be due October 30th or right around there. So we'll be back on the calendar quarter after this report here. Right. So we just need to make sure that it's reflecting all of your costs and your performance, through the end of June 30th.
All right, that's all the questions from the audience.
Okay, and I do have one other thing I want to show you here real quick. We had a webinar not too terribly long ago. Brittany English, who is with the Mathematica, and Emily are working with this cost study. And I want to thank several people. We had a call this week. So Krishna, I hope I'm not butchering your name, with OAI, and then Deb and Kathy with Matricon, and Cheryl Holmes with CAPS worked with Brittany and I and Emily to kind of pre-populate this cost form. And so Brittany from Mathematica, they're working on this, and they're going to develop these for each of your agencies. And once again, I know this looks overwhelming, but I think once we go through it the first time, it won't be as bad. The first page is just basically your information. It's very simple. I'm going to breeze through this real quick. What we discussed was on your staffing and volunteer page, titles, and they don't want actual people's names or your agency's titles, but more broad buckets. So one of the things that we discussed was, as far as titles are concerned, is like a career navigator would be a title. Some of your organizations actually do the training internally, so you have your staff wages and benefits that you also pay to training instructors in your organization. So one of the buckets would be a trainer, and then a bucket would be administration. So like under that title section, it would be like a career navigator, maybe 1, 2, or 3. It could be a trainer, 1, 2, 3, 4. And an administration, 1, 2, 3. Whoever is being charged or whoever's going to be charged to this grant, would be there based upon these kind of titles that we're going with. And then primary responsibilities. So like a career navigator, the buckets we had was a responsibility would be orientation and assessment, would be kind of one together. And then another one would be employer outreach and placement. And then another bucket is case management, which could include mentoring, counseling, those types of services. And then a fourth bucket is training placement. We're developing these broad buckets, and it could adjust, and it probably will adjust as we're going along with this report, and we're getting more comfortable with it. But when we have a drop down here, that's going to be pre-populated with you. So if you have a career navigator as your title here, and then what they're doing is the primary responsibility is the orientation and assessment part of it, and then one of the other responsibilities is employment and outreach. Those types of things, you can click on that, and we actually will probably have people that are doing all of it. So that's one of the things we'll have to discuss if those buckets are a little too broad and that person is doing everything, But the primary job may just be case management and employer outreach. So we're going to pre-populate these. Once again, this information will come across as far as their salary and hourly wages, and we will provide more instruction on this. Once this is established and sent to you guys from Brittany, you'll have 30 days to fill this out. And then once we get it filled out, then it's just a matter of updating it each quarter. So, and then the benefits here is just a yes-no question. That's relatively simple. And then we do talk about volunteers. And then so for volunteers, we figured primary responsibilities would be, maybe office support, employer engagement with clients, mentoring, tutoring, and then client support. So this will be pre-populated once again with those 4 buckets. And then, if we need to adjust as we're going along, we will. And then another area, direct services. The first part of the service contracts, you guys won't be filling out. This deals more with us, relating with you guys. And keep in mind, this cost study is consistent across all 10 projects. And not only do you fill out this thing, but we fill out one identical to this. So we would be filling out this section here with service contracts, because that's kind of, we're providing you guys the grants to that. Your section would be more down in section B. So it would be, any supportive services that are being provided, and then also other service costs. And once again, this is broad. This will not be tied to any trial balances or anything in your financial systems. It's a broader look at what the true costs are on this. And so this is broken down, based upon assessments and that type of information. So like I said, we'll get through this a little bit more. I just want to give you the heads up on that. As far as supplies, now one of the things that did come up, if you're providing laptops, and there is really not any major equipment, there is no major equipment that's being purchased out of you guys' grants in this. But an example would be if you're providing laptops to, say, your staff, and they're provided, out of other funds, or they're provided from your organization, you can identify those in this as a matching cost. So you can say items provided, 5 laptops, the estimated purchase price, and the percent of cost was spent with SNAP funds, and that would be 0. So that would show that this is a match that you guys are providing to this project. And then the other one that we came up with some buckets deals with the overhead costs. So with the overhead costs, let me see here. One of the main things that we came up with a type of facility, and the type of facility that, it's either could be administrative office, program office, or a training facility. So those are the areas that we're going to pre-populate for you, and then once they send these out, you'll have their contact information too, and we will definitely do another webinar on this once we have it pre-populated out in the field. But then they'll be working with you also directly to kind of walk through this. And like I said, it's very daunting. It's very daunting for me looking at it. But once we do it the first time, it's my understanding that this is going to be a much easier process, and it'll just be updating. So I just wanted to give you the heads up on that we're working, to get this, and it will be coming in the field here in the near future. So any questions on that?
I don't see anybody typing, Tammy.
Okay, so stop sharing. Am I stopped? There we go.
All right, so we'll minimize you now. We need to stop you still.
And we are working on, and I know I've mentioned this before, we are working on a face-to-face visit, one in Chicago and one will be in Springfield. The dates, we haven't finalized those, but we are working on some dates. And a couple of webinars ago, we asked you guys as far as where were your level of expertise and areas that you're interested in, talking about, whether it be, intake or client engagement. And so we'll be reaching out to you guys too, because this is going to be a joint effort in this. We want it to be very interactive, and we want you guys to participate because you guys are in the field. And so we want to know what's working, what's not working in the field. We want to be able to share, best practices, good ideas, bad ideas, the works. So that's something that's in development, and we'll have more details for you on next Wednesday.
Okay, and last but not least, I want to talk a little bit about reverse referrals. And Chicago has asked for this to happen, and so I kind of thought, well, maybe we need to make this kind of across the board for everybody in the state. So just to let everybody know, you can get to, and I put because Judith asked, where do I find archived webinars? I put the link to this EPIC Pilot Program Partner Guide, and it's got all of the resources that you need and where you can find them, and it's got all the archived webinars. It's got a whole list of tutorials, so you'll hear my voice a lot, unfortunately. Just below, we have a calendar for the IDHS things that are happening. The TA session that we have on Fridays, you guys are welcome to join us there if you want to hear what's going on with the TA calls for DHS. When people are doing participant intakes, and then we have the CBO calendar. So if you're going to do something major and you want to add it, you can add things onto the CBO calendar as well. Just to let you know where those forms are, you would go to the EPIC, restricted EPIC resources, and on here you will see the list as I showed you earlier, the conciliation form, and then all of the other forms that you need. But what we want to talk about right now is the reverse referral. So for a reverse referral, if you are in an area where there is a lot of activity, especially in the Chicago office, they would like to have a 2151. And you can get a blank 2151 right here from the Restricted Resources page and open that up, click the PDF document. Well, I've already done that. So here's a 2151. And what they would like on here is some information to help them filter the person through to the right place. So on this, this is just an example form, and I'll do a screenshot of this and add it to our resources here. They're referred to DHS for the EPIC program reverse referral. Put the date that you're making the referral, put your agency name, your agency contact. Who's making the referral? Like if Ron Ruffin is making the referral, Ron Ruffin's name is going to go there. And then the CBO address. If it is Mantricon, that address is going to go there. And who's the CBO phone number? Then down here in the next section down, you're referring them to the program, EPIC Program Reverse Referral, and put the address of the DHS office. So you can use this in any area. For example, right now, the address for 59th Street is 1642 West 59th Street, Chicago, Illinois. As of August 5th, we will not be doing any orientations in Chicago for about a week, maybe a week and a half, because we are setting up the decentralized offices. There will be 6 offices, and so on that webinar, probably on August 10th, we will make sure that you have all of the office addresses, especially if you are a CBO in Chicago. So under this program referring to, use the EPIC Program Reverse Referral, add the address, and then under the case information, you won't have any of the identifiers for the person unless they happen to carry around their case ID numbers. But you would want to put in the customer's name, the customer's address, and anything that they know of that can go on to this form, just to make it easy for the reverse referral into DHS for the program. A couple of things that you need to know about and remind your customers, and you probably are all saying it, but we know that people only hear what they want to hear. There is a 50-50 chance of them being assigned to the EPIC treatment program. If you say it, and if we say it, and if DHS says it, then we know that they've at least heard it 3 times. So we just need to make sure that they understand that it is a 50-50 chance. And all of you know that you won't provide any EPIC services until the person is assigned to the EPIC treatment group, because otherwise you won't get paid from EPIC for it. So do we have any questions about the reverse referral process? I see Phalanx typing.
One thing to add to that, when you're doing the reverse referrals, TANF recipients are not eligible for this program. So if you have a client that comes in that's on TANF, and you might want to ask them, are you receiving TANF benefits? Because if they are, there's no reason to refer them to this program because they cannot be in this program. With that said, our target population is ABODs, able-bodied without dependent children, but we can serve volunteer populations. So if you have somebody that comes in that maybe has a disability, that they're not, in the mandatory areas, they're not required for this, but they want to volunteer, they can still be served. I think, correct me if I'm wrong too, I think the ABODs are 18 to 49. If you have somebody that comes in that's 55, that wants to be served, they can be served too. They're just not considered to be in an ABOD population, but they still are work registrant, and so they can still be served under this program too. Our primary targeted population is ABODs, though.
Emily asked a question. The 2151 needs to be hand carried in. They have to have the form hand carried in because they have not been invited to the orientation yet. CBOs cannot invite the people. Only DHS can invite the people to the orientation. I believe Chicago does 9 a.m. and 1 p.m., or is it 1:30, Chris? And let me bring my screen back up. Eric is wanting to know. I'll do a screen capture of this, and we'll post it with the minutes. Well, you can also see it in the recording if you fast forward to the end of the recording. Eric, what did you want to see? How far do you want me to scroll? You can download the form right here on the restricted resources page, EPIC restricted resources. You have to be logged in to get that, and you can get the blank one right here. And you can probably manipulate this web page and then just print it and you would be okay.
And Emily, to answer your question, you said that if 2154 need to be uploaded in the clients, that these clients aren't customers in the EPIC yet, so with a reverse referral, you would just give them the form to go back to the DHS office for the orientation. So they are not in WorkNet until they're randomly assigned and put in the treatment group.
All right, any other questions about the reverse referral? I see Chris typing. All right, folks, we got 3 minutes left before it's a whole hour, so.
And just to guys give you an update too, we are having visits next week. One of the gentlemen that's with MDRC, and with our evaluation group, he's going to be in Chicago, and he's visiting 3 CBOs that we've arranged next week. And then he's going to be down in Southern Illinois. He's going to be visiting Marion and Leslie Bates, along with the DHS staff and offices. So we are starting to get visits out. We did get a letter from our FNS liaison, a lead role there, Jackie's her name, and she's wanting to schedule visits end of August, 1st of September area, so we're working on dates with that. And she does want to visit the CBOs on that, so I'll be reaching out to CBOs that, you guys are, rolling. And if you want to send me an email and say, yeah, we'd love to have her come, we've got a lot of good stuff going on, and we've got a lot of clients referred and classes are starting up, please do that too. But we're starting, the federal side and then our evaluation side are starting to come out into the field, and they want to see, what's going on. So, we're starting to really get some production. And once again, that's our emphasis, is to start rolling it even more. We got to get more people into this program. So more and more effort's going to be put on the outreach side of it and getting people to you guys.
Great. Nellie asked, can you repeat again, when do we need to give the reverse referral? So if somebody walks into your agency and you know that they are a SNAP recipient and not a TANF recipient, then you can give them a reverse referral form to send them to the DHS office so that they can be randomly assigned either to EPIC or to the just traditional SNAP ENT services. Does that answer your question, Nellie? Okay. Okay, in downloading the forms, I noticed the text in your copy is not filled in. I typed that. I typed that while Tammy was doing the demonstration. So you can, excuse me. I forgot to put that phone on quiet. You can type that information in. So as you may or may not be able to see on my screen, there are blue boxes right here. All of those blue boxes are fillable. So I just typed that information in those boxes. Monthly, as a check and balance for monthly tracking purposes, is there a location on the dashboard that shows the exact date an individual was enrolled in EPIC? Do you mean enrolled or assigned? Enrolled. All right, so on a person's profile, on the progress page, come on, baby. On the progress page, it's not moving. I'm in test. It's on, and it's not moving. I apologize. There we go. typically what would happen is the day that you upload the 2151 is the day that the enrollment would happen. But you can see it in the spreadsheet if you download. But I hear Natasha trying to say something.
Yeah, and there's also the enrollment piece down further that is going, what you see now is going to change a little bit. But you'll have that date, and it might actually be in the export too. But we can also have it displayed there.
It would be nice to have a date displayed here for when they were enrolled.
Yeah.
And when they were exited.
Well, the exit dates, they're going to be able to enter the exit date themselves, so that'll be there.
Yes.
So if it's not on the exact same date, they can put, whatever date the exit date is. It's going to look a little bit differently because we
talked
about it yesterday, and Cody's making changes. So you're getting a preview.
Yeah.
But I will say something to Cody about making sure that that enroll date is displayed.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? We're over an hour, so I got to end the meeting no matter what. So, all right. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.